guys, Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new and updated deck profile for Photon Galaxy here in the month of June. Tons of changes have been made to this deck since the previous deck profile. It's probably not going to look that similar. I mean, a lot of the core cards are still there, but, there's definitely been some changes, as you guys might have been able to tell, based on that test hand video I uploaded a few weeks ago. If you haven't seen that one, definitely go check it out. I'll leave a link to it up here in the top right. For you guys to click on after this video, before you watch it, whatever you want to do. So yeah, completely new list. Very excited to share it with you guys. Another thing that I'm excited to announce is that we are giving away right now one booster box of Lightning Overdrive. You can enter that giveaway at the link in the description, the gleam.io link. There are multiple ways for you guys to enter, and the giveaway will run for 1 week. So 1 week from now, from when this video went up at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think it will end on the 11th, so enter while you can. Again, there's multiple ways to enter, and the winner will be contacted. And I'll need your shipping information to give to TCG Player, because they are the ones making this giveaway possible. They're allowing me to give away not only 1 but 2 boxes of Lightning Overdrive, and they'll be shipping them to you guys directly from them. So we're going to give away 1 box here on YouTube in this video, and we'll be giving away another box of Lightning Overdrive on Twitch at a later date. So make sure you're following me on Facebook and Twitter, and you're joining the Discord to get those updates of when that giveaway stream is going to happen. And there are going to be other giveaways happening over the next couple weeks at the start of videos like this one, so make sure to subscribe with the notification bell on to make sure you don't miss those videos and miss potential giveaways like the one we're doing here. So yeah, again, check the link down in the description below, and also check out Imperium Duelist if you haven't already. They sell amazing playmats, dices, deck boxes, etc., and you can get it all for 10% off using my discount code WinterKills10off. Like this brand new playmat they just came out, themed after the Link's Awakening game that just came out. So if you want to pick that up, single player cloth playmat, you can on their site, or this playmat that I'm using here, or these red and white sleeves that I'm using as inner sleeves here. Definitely check them out. Winter Kills 10 off, save 10% off, and of course, huge shout outs to TCG Player for making all this possible. And don't forget to use my affiliate link I have for them in the description below as well. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. We'll do a quick deck profile, and then we'll get into the in-depth explanation card by card after that. Alright, this is the part of the video where we're going to be going through each individual card, and I'll be giving my reasonings as to why I'm playing them. And the first card we're going to talk about is none other than Galaxy Wizard. This card, if I'm being totally honest, I used to absolutely despise in this deck, and it was for a good reason, mainly because I would always play Galaxy Knight as the main normal summon in the deck. Obviously, we know what Galaxy Knight does. If there's a Photon or Galaxy monster on the board, normal summon without tributing, bring back Galaxy-Eyes Photon Dragon, right? Sounds really good in a nutshell, but, more often than not, as I was discovering in recent months, it was just very inconsistent, very fragile play as well. And, making the switch over to Galaxy Wizard just seems like a much better idea. And my biggest concern ultimately was that with this card being the main normal summon focus and not Galaxy Knight, that the deck would lose some level of power. The end boards wouldn't be as good. But it's just not true. The end boards you can make with Galaxy Knight, I've found, are just the same as boards that can be made with Galaxy Wizard. Now, I will say that hasn't always been the case. I want to say that the release of Galaxy Eyes Afterglow Dragon has helped with that immensely, just because you still have that level 8 spamming ability now just from hand, and not, relying on Galaxy Knight to kind of do the heavy lifting. But this card I like a lot more. It's kind of like a Stratos for the deck, which I think it really needs. So I think ignoring this card is no longer something you really can do. I think playing 3 is the way to go, and as you saw, I'm playing a Cell Light 2, just to be able to tutor this card out more, which is just really good. So we can play more copies, but it can increase its level by 4 until the end of the turn, which is good obviously for making rank 8 plays or making Galaxy Expedition live. And then it can tribute itself as cost to add a Galaxy card from your deck to your hand except itself. And note that is not a once per turn, neither of the effects are once per turn. So if you happen to see a monster reborn, you can bring this card back and send send it off again for another search of a Galaxy card. Not a monster, but a card. Because we pretty much search anything Expedition, Galaxy Zero, Soldier, Galaxy Eyes, Afterglow, Brave, etc., etc. This card can search it, which makes it really, really useful. So next up, we have 3 copies of Galaxy Soldier. This card, I think, is still a 3-of staple within the deck. Kind of always has been. The discard outlet is really strong for being able to put cards like Galaxy Eyes, Photon, Dragon, and Grave. Although that doesn't really matter so much nowadays. The only importance I would say that it offers is to set up plays with Bujinki Ahashima by putting a level 8 in the graveyard to be able to summon 1 from hand and then 1 from the grave. But a lot of times you're just using him to get himself on board as a body to either overlay with for Pleiades, or to get that, of course, that Galaxy search that you need. Grab Wizard, Wizard grabs Expedition, Expedition plays itself to summon out any level 5 or higher from the deck, and then you can continue on from there. But yeah, really, really solid card through and through. I wish rank 5s were more prevalent in this deck, because that would make this card much better. Next up is Photon Orbital. I think this card has gone down in price since the release, since the banning of Union Carrier, and obviously that makes sense. This card is great. It's one of the best searchers, hands down, in the deck. I only wish it didn't need to equip to something. I wish it maybe just said discard itself to add a Photon or Galaxy monster, and then maybe you take 500 damage or something. But unfortunately, it does have to equip to something, which is kind of a detractor at the end of the day. But, the fact that it can search any Photon or Galaxy monster is really good. This card can bridge the gap between the Galaxy and the Photon cards. The only problem is a lot of your other searchers, like Soldier and Wizard, cannot search this card, which is also kind of a problem. Next up, we have 3 Photon Vanisher. Photon Vanisher, I still find to be a necessary evil in this deck. Searching out Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon is very, very important. Having him in hand as a good discard outlet for Soldier is great. Having him in hand to be able to summon off Blast Dragon is great. Having him in hand in general to make Ahashima plays, of course, is also great. So it's also a level 4, and accessing Blast Dragon, and I found Galaxian to still be really important. I think the rank 4 engine in this deck is very underutilized, and should try to be utilized more often in most combo lines. Speaking of combo lines, I will be trying to do a combo video soon. But Photon Vanisher is great, but yeah, you still gotta play 3 just because of the search capability and what he searches for. And speaking of what he searches for, 3 Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. This would be considered an engine requirement more so than anything. This card really doesn't do much on its own. It just enables your other cards and makes them a lot better. Obviously, Photon Vanisher has no value in the deck if it can't search this card. You really always want 1 in hand, 1 in grave, 1 in deck, I think is kind of like the general rule of thumb. These cards are great. Even if you absolutely have to, you can summon them from hand by tributing Photon Sanctuary tokens to either make an Expedition live or an Afterglow live. At least set up a rank 8, because getting to number 90 I would say is very, very important in this deck, because he is a good boss monster, very defensive card, and he also nets you advantage, which the deck sometimes, after doing a long combo, really, really needs, because the deck does have a tendency to drain its hand during combos. Then next up, one of the best additions this archetype has ever gotten, Galaxy Eyes Afterglow Dragon. This is one of the main reasons I finally feel comfortable with cutting Galaxy Knight, because this card allows you to spam level 8s to the field much easier. Just while you control a Galaxy Eyes monster, special summon this card from your hand in defense, and then if this card is detached from an Xyz monster, to activate that monster's effect, you can take a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon and special summon it from your hand or deck, or attach it to an Xyz monster you control as material, so a lot of options there. Then if it was attached or activated during the battle phase, you can double the attack of all number Xyz monsters you control, and this is one of the main reasons why I potentially thought about playing this deck as a going second OTK deck, because this card paired with number 62 Prime Photon Dragon does equal a lot of OTKs, but playing through boards nowadays is not easy to do, easier said than done. So I just kind of like using this card as an extender rather than kind of like a game ender, if you will. Then next up, we have 2 copies of the Galaxy Brave. This is a card I was considering cutting, but I really can't, just because it's kind of a pseudo starter for the deck. If you open it with Orbital or Vanisher, it kind of gets your plays going, which is nice, helps to set up a rank 4 engine too. But this card is also good because there are a lot of times where, like, if you've already opened Afterglow, maybe you got it off of Prosperity or a Wizard, you don't really have that many great search targets off of your Soldier. Especially if you've already, like, normal summoned Wizard, or maybe you, again, already got a Afterglow off of an Orbital, and you're resolving your Soldier, right? A lot of times you don't have the best search targets if you're not playing this card. So you kind of need this card in deck still to be able to search, whether you're going to reveal a Galaxy Eyes and summon it from hand as a level 8. Again, free level 8, kind of replacing the job of Galaxy Knight there, or it's just discard fodder, or you can pair it with a Vanisher and Orbital and try to set up a rank 4 play as well, whether it be for Blast Dragon or for Galaxian. Then we have two more Photon/Galaxy monsters out. The first one being Photon Slasher. This is a card that I've been back and forth on for a little while. For those that don't know what it does, this is a face-up Xyz monsters on the field. You can special summon this card from your hand in face-up defense position, so it's an inherent summon. And it's if your either player controls an Xyz monster. So with Zoo being popular, Tri-Brigade Zoo, it's not super outlandish that sometimes if you go second, you can just start by summoning this to the field, and it's literally just free advantage to get your plays going. But it's also really interesting the fact that it's not a once per turn to summon this card. So you can constantly just bounce it back with a Pleiades or something, or you can link it off for a Soul Flare, add it back off the Soul Flare, and if you already have an Xyz monster in play, you can again summon this card back to the field to make more plays with. Again, you can make your Expedition live. This is a card that I was trying to play at 3, but I think it clogs way too much at 3. Seeing it that often is not that warranted. Like, I really like playing this card as a 1-up because there are going to be some situations where you're resolving Orbital, and this will be the best candidate to search off of it, especially since it can search Photon cards, and it's the only monster in the main deck that can search them. Then last but not least, we have one Photon Vanisher. I cannot cut this card. I always come back to it. I was trying 2 Advancer, 3 Vanisher, 3 Advancer, 3 Vanisher, no Thrasher. I was trying 3 Thrasher, 3 Advancer, 3 Vanisher. I think still having the 1 Thrasher in the deck is always going to be worth it, especially if you're playing Rhoda, just to be able to go grab this card to make other cards live. It's just, I think it's a necessary evil. I would not play any more than 1 because you're already technically playing 2 with the Rhoda in the deck, but it is a dead draw pretty much at any other point in the game unless you have a clear board, and if you do, you're probably losing. But next up we have the Psy-Frame package. I think this is single-handedly the best hand trap package that you can run in the deck. Feel free to disagree, but you have so many vulnerable cards in this deck that are vulnerable to Ash and also to Droll. And this card hard punishes it. It's also light. You can discard the driver for Soldier, and it's in the grave. Who really cares at that point? And then you can also synchro these cards if on your turn to go into the Chaos Ruler to then try to grab an extender. This deck is inconsistent. It needs as much search power as possible, so that's why I wanted to dedicate at least 1 slot in the extra deck to make this powerful engine just that much better for us to get just a little bit more out of it. And not to mention, it's just a really potent hand trap as well if you do happen to go second. Yes, drawing the driver can suck, but that's not why, I'm going to cut it. That's just a really poor reason to want to cut the card because it does so much for the deck, especially when you have a card like Galaxy Wizard tributing itself off for cost, makes the the Gamma live. Same thing with Prosperity, same thing with the Cell Light, all very tempting Ash targets. So yeah, gotta love the Gamma. And then speaking of Prosperity, we are on 3 Prosperity. I know this card is pretty expensive, and a budget option would probably be Trade-In or Pot of Desires. Now, of course, if you play Trade-In and Pot of Desires, you do have to switch up your main deck quite a bit. You will not be able to play the build that I'm playing. You'll need to probably bump up to 3 Afterglow, 3 Brave, 3 Knight to make the Trade-In live. I don't think Trade-In is really viable in a build like this because there's just not enough level 8 targets. We have the 2 Afterglow, the 3 Galaxy Eyes, and the 2 Brave. It's only 7 level 8s if I recall correctly, and that's just not enough to play 3 Trade-In. You'll be seeing Trade-In way more, I feel like, than you'll want to be. It'll just create bad hands, and there'll be turns where, or hands where the trade-in is not live at all, when this card is pretty much always going to be live. You don't ever really care about the half battle damage restriction. You can't also play trade-in with this card because of its you can't draw the turn you activate it restriction. And you usually only banish 3 off this card. My go-to banish cards are typically, if I don't open Gamma, are to banish Chaos Ruler, Galaxian, and I would say number 38. Those are the 3 cards I pretty much always am okay with banishing. Now, if I do open Gamma, I kind of want to keep the Chaos Ruler in the extra deck in case they go to Ash the Prosperity or Droll Me on Resolution. I want to have that follow-up in the extra deck still, so instead of banishing the Chaos Ruler, I'll banish like Hippo Shinigin instead. So the extra deck banishing is really not a hindrance to this deck at all. I know a lot of people, the first thing that's going to come to their mind when they see Prosperity, they're like, oh, we can't lose cards in the extra deck. Yes, you can. There is definitely 3 cards you can live without in the extra deck to be able to dig 3 cards deeper and grab that pivotal extender or starter that you absolutely need for the deck to be able to operate. Then next up, 3 Expedition. This card can clog, of course, but with 3 Galaxy Wizard in the deck, I see no reason to play any less than 3 Expedition. Just because if you open Expedition and Wizard together, it's like one of the strongest combos you can open, and it's also an OTK going second. If your opponent has like any monster with, I think, like 3,200 or less attack, because you can just punch straight over it with number 62, since you'll be going to 11,200 attack with the Afterglow and the number 62. But yeah, Expedition is great. It's an incredible extender. Gets Galaxy Soldier out of the deck, which is a search, so this essentially becomes a search card in some hands too. And you just always want to see the Wizard and the Expedition together. And it's just a free card. Like, it's just so free. It doesn't lock you in anything. Just summon a level 5 or higher Photon or Galaxy monster from the deck if you control one. Such a great card. Then we have 3 Photon Sanctuary. This is a card I've been so back and forth on. Mainly because, like, now that Union Carrier's banned, there's like almost no reason to play this card. I guess you could argue there is reason to play it, and that is the only reason is because it can make Orbital and Vanisher live, so it can get cards out of your hand and in play, which is good. But the other reason that I found is it helps to make Ahashima much more often, because the tokens are the same level, and you can make Ahashima with 2 monsters that have the same level, and you can use tokens. And the reason I find that being important is because this is now not turboing out Union Carrier, instead turboing out Ahashima, which is going to help make more rank 8 plays, or even rank 4 plays, or maybe rank 5 plays if you have it set up. And I think it's just really good. I was going to play 2. There was a build where I was actually playing 2, but I don't want to play 2. I think playing 3 is probably just better for consistency's sake. My only issue with this card is that it does nothing on its own. Like, now that Union Carrier is gone, like, this card does nothing on its own. It makes a Link 2, it makes Soul Flare, and Soul Flare isn't doing you anything unless you have good targets to add back, which obviously at the start of your turn, you're not going to have anything to add back. You can't even add this card back because it has to be a Photon or Galaxy monster, importantly. But this card, I would also no longer label a starter card. I'd probably label this maybe like a pseudo starter if I really had to, but it's more so a superior extender at this point than anything, now that Union Carrier is lost forever. Next we have 2 Acellite. This card, a lot of people might not know what it does. It says you control no monsters, special summon 1 level 4 or lower Photon or Galaxy monster from your deck. You can only activate 1 Acellite per turn. You cannot normal summon / set during the turn you activate this card. This is another huge reason why you want to play Gamma in the main deck, because if this gets ashed, you are going to be in a world of hurt. You have no normal summon, and you just lost out on a Searcher. Really, really devastating. So you definitely want to be able to have Gamma ready for this card and be able, or call by this card. I think will be replaced by a new card. I think that literally just got announced today. I forget what it's called, but it lets you add a monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand, and you can't activate its effects until the next turn or until you normal summon that card. And that basically will just search Galaxy Wizard because he has 0 attack. So I think this card might get replaced by that card whenever it comes out. I'm not entirely sure. Then we have some 1-ofs here, just called by the Grave Obviously. We need our plays to go through. Deck's very fragile to hand traps. Wish it could stop Nibiru, but maybe when Crossout Designator comes out, we'll play that. Galaxy 0 and Reborn for just easy extension, and then Rhoda being a great starter card to search either the Vanisher or the Thrasher. So yeah, that is it for the main deck. Now we'll run through the extra deck. Alright, so to start for the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Galaxy Eyes Soulflare Dragon. Definitely wouldn't want to play one of these. The second one pretty much always comes up regardless for that graveyard recursion and getting a key extender you need back into your hand to use again. The pop effect, I really don't use all that often unless I'm really trying, you know, grasping at straws for like an interruption. Just because, you know, having to discard out of your hand is obviously, you know, not something you want to do with this deck, because keeping hand advantage is very important because your combos eat up hand advantage like crazy. But I definitely think 2 is still necessary just for that graveyard recursion. So next up we have 1 Bujinki Ahashima. This card I think is now a must in the extra deck. Now that Union Carrier is gone, because it's so easy to make with Photon Sanctuary. 2 monsters with the same level to get into it. Can't be used as link material, and then you can only use each of the following effects of Ahashima once per turn. It says, if this card is link summoned, special summon 2 monsters with the same level, 1 from your hand and 1 from your grave, but negate their effects. Then immediately after this effect resolves, Ixie summon 1 Ixie's monster using those 2 monsters only. So it's just a quick way to get into rank 8s, 5s, 4s. Probably most commonly going to be using it to get into rank 8s, and you're probably going to be going for Felgrand. And I like to go for Felgrand with this card because if you can have this card up in the extra monster zone, it'll get more value because of its second effect. Because it says, if an Ixie's monster this card points to activates an effect by detaching a material except during the damage step, you can target a spell trap your opponent controls and destroy it, which is really strong. Especially since a lot of decks nowadays are tending to play more back row. Having like in-engine technically spell and trap removal is nice, especially if you pair it with like the proper Xyz monster like Felgrand, because you can just summon the Felgrand, then use Felgrand, negate something on their field to protect something of yours, and also pop a back row if need be, which is great. And it's also Beast Warrior, so like it can help you play under Tikaboo, which is really good because Tikaboo is a hell of a card. Then the last link monster is 1 Hippo Shinigin. This is kind of like a flex spot. I was thinking about playing Cyframe Lord Lambda. But it's just like too much of a tell. It can be easily played around, and I think I would much rather go for this because, you know, if they're going to see me make Lambda, you know, it's pretty clear again, obviously, that I have a Gamma in my hand, especially if they see me activate it before in any previous games. They're probably going to try to clear it as soon as possible, you know, by whatever means necessary to make the Gamma not live. But if I make this instead, not only do I get the attack boost, you know, make Splash Dragon a little bit more effective since I am trying to end on it more often. It gives more value to the extra copies of Photon Sanctuary you might open, since you can't make the Lambda with tokens. This is just much better. And of course, the graveyard recursion it offers when it is destroyed by battle or card effect. Then we play 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. You might say this card can conflict with Photon Sanctuary, as it's the only dark monster we're playing in the entire extra deck. I find that turns that you open Sanctuary and have also a way to make this card, the fact that you lose out on the Sanctuary is kind of lessened by the fact that you get a free level 8 3k beater that's also a searcher and kind of an extender, because it can set up your graveyard with cards that you can just add back freely off of Soul Flare, or, you know, revive out of the grave or whatever off of, you know, whatever cards you may have off like Monster Born or Galaxy Zero. It just gets you those extenders to hand by, you know, activating those top 5 cards of the deck, and you get to add any light or dark to your hand that you find there. Won't be able to use its graveyard effect because we don't play any other darks in the extra main deck or side. I've been thinking about maybe possibly adding some in, maybe like a Phantasme, but Phantasme also has its issues too, where it conflicts with a Cell Light, unfortunately. Then the Xyz monsters, we have 1 Zeus. You don't have to play Zeus. I would probably recommend playing a second Felgrand maybe, or a second number 90. It's just some budget alternatives, but this card I don't really go into that often. But when you do have the opportunity to go into it, and, you know, that opportunity comes up, this card obviously comes in very, very clutch. And can, you know, win you some games. The only problem I find with this is, like, number 90 has a really good tendency to stick to the board, and any other time you're making this, you're making over top of maybe a full armor, or a Felgrand or an All-Say or whatever it may be, and then you run the risk of, like, wiping your own board, you know, when you have a monster negate there ready, and they have to, like, they force this out. So sometimes it's kind of, like, a little clunky, conflicts a little bit, but, you know, you still gotta play it just because on its own it can steal games. Then we have 1 full armor Photon Dragon, you know, just for the Xyz change removal to help make Zeus a little bit more effective. The 1 number 90. Really, a lot over the testing I've been doing, only found that 1 is necessary. The monster negate is great. I wish it negated activations. Unfortunately, it does not. The search effect is fantastic, and the built-in protection it has, if it has a Photon monster material, is also highly warranted. But this is the rank 8 you're going to try to go into the most often. If this is all you can do, that's what you want to go for, because you have the protection, you have the negation, and you have the search power to give you a much better turn. So yeah, this card is just like a Swiss Army knife. You want to always try to get into it if possible. And you usually only need to make 1. Then we have one number 38 Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. This card, you know, it negates spells. It comes up very little, surprisingly. I still wouldn't cut this for anything though, because there are going to be some games where having access to a spell negate is going to allow you to win the game. So that's one of the main reasons that's keeping me from cutting this, but this is a very easy banish target off of Prosperity. Still kind of like a necessary card I would recommend playing, just because there are some times, again, where, you know, if you know your opponent has a spell, you know, if they, you know, they have a meltdown or something, or because you drolled them, they can't play it, or you know they have whatever, Red Eyes Fusion in hand, you know, making sure you have access to something like Titanic Galaxy is really important, or stopping an Endear Servant. Then next up we have one number 62 Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, basically the OTK button for the deck. If this card attacks or is attacked during damage calculation only, in either player's turn, detach a material from this card and it gains attack equal to the combined ranks of all Xyz monsters on the field times 200. So it by itself will go up to 56, doubled by Afterglow will go up to 11,200, which again is game over a lot of monsters. Yeah, and you need to Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon as material, otherwise it'll do half battle damage, but again, Afterglow can make sure it'll attach Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon to this card if you do not have it readily available and attached to it. So yeah, number 62. Then one Felgran. It's good monster negation, but it's kind of like an extender turn 1, especially with Afterglow. It's the main reason we play it is because it's a monster that we can detach turn 1, target itself, protect it, and then you use Afterglow's effect since it was detached to summon out another Galaxy Eyes to be able to go into a number 90 with. So really strong card all around. Then we have one Elsei, the Sylvan High Protector. The main reason I'm playing this card is because of there can be only 1. This is like the only card in the extra deck that you can access under Tikaboo that will out this card. And the reason is because you play a lot of warriors and dragons. You know, if you have a Brave on field or a Wizard on field and a dragon on the field or a warrior, whatever it may be, a lot of times you can't access, you know, number 90. You can't access number 38, and you can't access full armor to pop that floodgate, but instead going into Elsei, which is a plant, allows you to do that. It says once per turn you can declare a card name, excavate the top card of your deck, and if it is the declared card, add it to your hand, otherwise send it to the graveyard. If this card, or if a card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by a card effect, except during the damage step, you can detach one exhibition from this card, target one card in the field, place that target on either the top or bottom of the deck. So yeah, you call a card, you could just call Slifer the Sky Dragon, you could call Photon Lizard, whatever card that you know 100% you're not playing, so the effect will resolve where you're not adding the card to your hand, potentially you're sending it to the grave, which will allow you to target a card they control and put it on the top or the bottom of the deck, essentially outing the Tikaboo or whatever problem, Floodgate. So yeah, really strong card, and it is really good to play through. There can be only 1. Then we have one Constellar Pleiades. The reason why I'm not playing Infinity is it just takes up too much extra deck space, and Pleiades is just as good, hitting meltdowns when they're played, bounce them back to their hand, basically negating it. Then we have one Blast Dragon as an extender, and one Galaxian again as another extender. Really like playing both of these rank 4s in here. Really solid. I mean, Blast Dragon is kind of a better Galaxian, but Galaxian will ultimately help you play through hand traps, Ash and Droll alike, by being able to overlay Thrasher and Vanisher into to be able to go into, you know, summoning a Galaxy Eyes from deck. Unfortunately, it does take 2 Photon monsters to make, which is a little unfortunate, but you know, that's why Blast Dragon's a little more versatile. But you know, having this card there as a potential option can kind of save you in situations where you've been hand trapped. And then real quick, we'll just run through the side deck. We have 3 Lancia, obviously good against the Bird Up deck, good against the Dragon Link deck, good against the Invoke strategy, stopping Shaddoll Schism, really good. It's also a light, that's why I play it. Droll and Lock 2, also really good against a lot of decks that like to search. Drytron especially coming back into the meta with Diviner and Mubeta Fafnir, having access to Droll on the side, I think is really, really important. Then this deck has a very hard time dealing with control deck, so I'm on the double Cosmic, triple Evenly, and the 1 red reboot to be able to try to push for game. Having 6 anti-back row deck cards is very, very important because, again, this deck does struggle against those control matchups quite a bit, and these cards are all great answers to it. And Evenly Match is nice because it's not only good against control, but it's also good against combo. That's why I like it quite a bit. And then last but not least, 3 Solemn Judgment. I wanted a card to be able to side in going first here, and this is like the best card to do so. It's a good card to put in, like, if I know Gamma's not really going to come up, if my opponent's not really on a bunch of hand traps, they're on more like a bunch of board breaking cards like Talents, Droplets, Dark Ruler, etc. Being able to drop Gamma from the main deck for Judgment and then adding any other cards in on top of that is really, really nice. So really like the Judgment. Didn't want to play Rivalry, didn't want to play Gozen because I don't feel like those cards are too great. You can't really play Rivalry in this deck anyways. Gozen is probably the best thing you can play, but again, I don't think Gozen is always that good in this current meta. But that is going to do it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like. I'll be doing a combo video shortly. I'll run through this really fast. Those cards that would side out would probably be Slasher, a copy of Brave. You could easily side out, where is it? A copy of Acellite, a Galaxy Zero, a copy of Photon Sanctuary, and maybe a copy of Gamma as well. Other than that, I probably wouldn't side out too much, but you have a good amount of space to side things in. So 6 cards to be exact. If you need to put in those 3 Evenly, 2 Cosmic, and Reboot, those are the 6 cards that I probably would put in against the control deck. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Drop a comment down below and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, I want to give a huge shout out to all the YouTube members supporting this channel, and a special thanks goes to our Divine level channel members, and they are Cadillacs84 and Pony Stark. Thank you guys so much for your continued and very generous support towards the channel.